How to become a polyglot. So basically what this video is going to be about is I'm going to talk about what a polyglot is. You probably already know that, but I'm just going to say it just so we're all on the same page. And I'm also going to tell you basically the path that will get you to being a polyglot. Obviously it's not easy. It's not a clickbait video where I'm going to say, oh, watch this video and you become a polyglot afterwards. I'm just going to tell you basically the things you need to do, and then by the end of that you will basically be a polyglot if you've done all of those things, just so you have that path to go down. I know a lot of people struggle with language learning, even with individual languages, because they just, you don't want to waste your time and they just don't know what to do. They're happy to commit to something, they just don't know what to do. So if you ever had that interest where you want to be able to speak a few languages, I'm just going to tell you basically the path to get there. So what is a polyglot, just to make sure we're on the same page? So a polyglot is someone who can speak several different languages. It's a little bit of a debated over thing how many you need to. The general number for this is at least 4, and some people say 5, 6. So it's a fair few. It's more than 2 or 3. And the standards for how well you need to speak them also differ. I would generally say not necessarily fluency, but you need to be able to speak it. But it definitely needs to be more than you can just chat a little bit brokenly. You need to be able to speak it properly. So polyglots actually do make up only a tiny amount of the population. They are truly rare. It's about 1 to 3%, and the reason for that is because even though some people can be bi or sometimes trilingual, just through their family and stuff, no one can really be a polyglot naturally. As I've said before, I'd be interested to meet anyone who was just a polyglot because they grew up speaking 5 languages, but that just doesn't happen, especially in countries like Australia or the Western world, where most people grow up literally speaking English or just one language. So as far as becoming a polyglot goes, anyone can basically do it. I don't see why you couldn't unless you had some kind of intellectual handicap. Other than that, there's really no reason why you can't get to that level of languages. I've talked about this before. It's been proven. Basically anyone can learn 5 languages as long as they commit themselves to it. And just as a little fun fact, a hyperpolyglot is someone who can speak even more languages than a polyglot. Again, the standards differ, but it's usually about 7 to 12, so a ton of languages. But this video is just basically going to focus on being a polyglot. So how to get there? Surprise, you're going to have to learn a fair few languages. So to get to that level of speaking 5 or so, obviously you're going to have to learn 5 languages. Presumably you already speak 1, maybe 2, so you're going to have to learn a couple more. It's not necessarily difficult, but it will take it's going to take a few years minimum to get to that level. Minimum. I say a few, it's going to probably take at least 5. And I'm going to have videos up on my channel helping with just general language learning, so I'm not just going to say that and then throw you in the deep end basically. But one thing that you do have complete control over is the languages you pick. So if you're hell-bent on literally just learning 5, like you've had a bet with a person that you'd like a friend on who can learn the most languages by 2030 or whatever, the languages you pick are going to greatly affect how long it's going to take to learn. There is basically no one that you would know that could learn Mandarin Chinese faster than they could learn Spanish. It's just not going to happen if you're an English speaker. So picking the right languages, which I'm going to talk about those specific languages on the next slide, it's going to have a huge impact on how long it takes to basically reach that advanced level of speaking 5 or so languages. And you also have to, just a small side note, once you've learned them, you do have to remain adept to them. This isn't as hard as people think. Some people think as soon as you stop learning, you're going to instantly forget. Not true, because of the amount of time it takes to learn. You've strengthened your neural pathways to a certain degree. If it didn't take a year to learn a language, then yeah, sure, you probably would forget it. But just because of the amount of time you've invested, there's at least some strength. Even if you don't do anything, you'll come back and still be able to do it. I think I found what happens is you might be a little bit slow. So sometimes when I'm speaking Italian, after I've learnt it, it might take me a few minutes to warm up, just because I'm not constantly doing it every single day. But I can still speak it. I might just mess up a few word orders and stuff and I sound like a twat, but that's just because I don't speak it every day. I'm not Italian, I don't have an Italian family. Once it takes a few minutes of conversation, sure, I'll be fine. And I think most people are like that, give or take. But yeah, basically once you've learned a language, just read a book or check the news every morning. I do try and do that when I have time, and that's basically enough to keep you warm. So as far as the fastest way, obviously with all language learning, there's no quick way. It's not going to take 10 minutes, but in my opinion, this is the fastest way. So learning the simplest languages possible is basically going to get you to the amount of languages you need as quick as possible. And yeah, I don't really like people focusing on the quickest way to do things, because it's not a quick process. And if it was, it wouldn't be as respected as it is. So it is going to take a long time. It's going to take years, like I said before. But the fastest possible way would be mastering the easiest languages and just the most similar, because once you've learnt languages that are similar to each other, it's easier to amass more, if that makes sense. So it's easier to learn French, Italian if you already speak like Spanish, those kind of languages, because they're all similar. They're all Romance languages, and I will have a video out on types of languages later to help you guys with that. So if you're an English speaker, as you presumably are, learning Romance languages like French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, also Romanian. There are plenty of other Romance languages like Catalan. You can find a full list of them, but those are the biggest ones. You should probably learn them instead of like minority languages. But yeah, learning those will get you to basically being a polyglot as quick as possible, because they're the easiest languages and they're similar. Obviously, you want both, so if you have both, which is easy languages, and then learn ones that are similar to each other, that's going to get you to being a polyglot as quick as possible. If you only speak English, I'd say, and you want to learn French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, so you amass 5 languages to be a polyglot, I'd say that would probably take about, it would depend. On average, if you committed to it and you're putting in hours every week, I would say you could probably do that in, we'll say 6 years. That has a lot of, if you've ever seen that curly equal sign, that means approximately, there is a huge one in front of that. So I can't give you an exact number. 6 is just kind of a roughish number. If you are absolutely hell-bent on doing it, I honestly don't see why you couldn't do it in like maybe even 3 if you really, really tried. But and yeah, of course, some people might take more than 6. What you should focus on instead of natural talent is how much effort you're going to put into something, because results are the product of the effort you put in 9 times out of 10. So you need to be putting in effort, and I've got written down the bottom, discipline and consistency is the one true path. You're not always going to feel like language learning, but you'll look back on it when you do feel like it and be grateful that you kept going when you didn't, because at the end of the day, it's future you that gets to enjoy the results of your hard work, not current you. And future you don't want future you to look back and go, I was an idiot, I stopped doing that when I should have just kept going and learnt it. And I started. So yeah, keep going. And yeah, I do think maybe about 6 years would be probably what it would take to learn 5. Obviously, if you've done it for 6 years, you probably want to keep going past 5, which is what I intend to do. Hopefully I can speak at least 10 eventually. So we'll see. My goals are, I'm learning Russian at the moment. So my goals are to speak, I'm going to try and do a bash out of all the Romance languages. I will try and do French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. I'm going to try and do all 4 of them in 3 years, because we'll see. I'm quite good at it. That is a pretty big goal to set, but I'll do my best, and I'm going to basically put all that on YouTube just to see, so you guys can see what is truly possible. And yeah, I'm not lying about any of that. I don't know any of those languages, just bits and pieces I've taught myself. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically, I think, what the fastest way to becoming a polyglot is. And yeah, that's all. Thank you, and enjoy.